Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Sydney. This is round 7. I'm Brian David Marshall. I'm joined by Marshall Sutcliffe. There you see Andre Strosky, multiple-time Pro Tour top 8 competitor, versus Ben Stark, the Pro Tour Hall of Famer, the perennial draft master, one of the great limited minds of the game. We saw him here earlier. Didn't have much of a chance to see what his deck was doing because he ran over Christian Calcano.
It's like somebody ran over our playmat in between us.
Oh, no.
The screen as well. It's a little crooked.
Oh, there's your Thermo Alchemist.
We'll have to take. Oh, I like that a lot. You can combine that with removal spells or tempo plays to really pile on a lot of damage, and a pretty safe block here. It looks like it's just a bluff attack here from Andre Strosky, who says, look, if you block, that's fine. If you don't, I get a free point of damage from my Sigardian Priest here.
Yeah, and there's Dawngrif for Strosky on turn 3.
Yeah, good start.
And there's the Thraben Foulblood. Both players pretty reasonable curves. Oh.
Wow.
But
Odric.
There is Odric. Everything's flying.
Yeah.
Come on over.
Yeah, so on combat he's going to give flying to Sigardian Priest. So that gets him in for an additional point of damage. Not the end of the world here for Ben Stark, but yeah, Odric can be a problem.
And the Thermo Alchemist pings Andre Strosky at the end of his turn. There you get a look at Odric Lunark Marshall, our third member of the booth. Beginning of each combat, he gains first strike.
Well, creatures you control.
Creatures you control. Flying, death. Yeah, your whole team gets like just this whole slew, as many abilities as you can get onto the battlefield. Doesn't have protection from Boon of Emrakul, though.
No, it does not. Unfortunately for Ben, the Boon of Emrakul is not going to trigger the Thermo Alchemist, as it only triggers on instants and sorceries, not non-creature spells. But whatever, he's happy to get Odric off the battlefield,
and gets
it clears the way with for the Thraben Foulblood.
Yeah, Thraben Foulblood's come on. The Thraben Foulblood was getting in anyway. I don't think Odric was blocking there.
Fair, fair point. Yeah, it looks like Andre is going to reserve his Sigardian Priest to keep the Thraben Foulbloods at bay here potentially.
How do you? Where do you have Sigardian Priest in your sort of white?
Well, I don't think it's as good as Choking Restraints.
Yeah.
I like that card better, but I think it's probably the next one.
Oh, really? You have it that high?
Yeah, I think it's in the top 3. I mean, what's the other one that I'm thinking of that I should be? I don't know. I think Sigardian Priest is excellent. Oh, I like Geist Fueled
Scarecrow. Yeah, this card's great. 4/4 for 4. It makes all your creatures more expensive. But, you know, a lot of times, especially if you're in a white deck like this, you've topped out on your mana curve before sometimes.
Totally. It's huge. It's hard to deal with that thing.
Yeah, it looks like right now Andre's got the ground pretty well locked up between the Priest and the Scarecrow, and is able to just peck away with that Dawngrif for a few turns here.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably just going to start rumbling with the Scarecrow next turn, too.
And the Insatiable Gorgers
is back. Yeah, so that's a 5/3 that has to attack every turn. It's also got Madness.
I don't think we've seen that come up yet.
Come up, exactly. The mana cost is interesting. It's actually the same. You can see it on the screen there. It's the same converted mana cost, though it is a little bit easier to cast at just 3 and a red rather than 2 red. The cool part about it, though, right? No haste or anything like that. So he can block here. You know, if the opportunity arises and he feels like it's advantageous, Ben can just block with his Insatiable Gorgers. Trade it off for something. Otherwise, it is going to come crunching in there, and Andre is going to have to come up with a way to deal with that, or he can use the Sigardian Priest to keep it back if he'd like.
I think we've talked a lot about white-black and red-black, and you said red-white, not something you like, but both of these two color pairs have seemed really good so far early on in Eldritch Moon Limited.
These seem to be the best 2 color pairs that I've seen. I think that's just based on the fact that it has a very high power level. Is that a collective effort there, BDM?
That is a collective effort.
Yeah, that's a really nice one.
So +1/+1 counter on all his creatures.
And he's going to destroy a creature with power 4
and then he's
or
going to
greater.
tap something, and kill that insatiable creatures.
What a beating!
There you go.
Man,
Look at it.
these
one of the
Escalate cards have
great
just been
cards.
smashing all day. Now he's going to attack for 8 damage. Wow. Yeah, that was savage. That's probably the game-winning play. Ben is going to have to come up with some pretty special sequences to come back from that. Losing a creature and now facing down a massive army on the other side.
Olivia's Dragoons, another Foul Bloods.
Yeah, I mean, those are fine cards, and it was a good use of his mana for Ben. He found his other black mana, so he was able to cast 2 creatures this turn, but let's see, what do his blocks look like? He can put 4 toughness in front of something. It just doesn't look good for him. Yeah, these are clean attacks from Strosky here. Even the Dawngryph now as a 3/3 is able to get through Olivia's Dragoon even if it were to get flying, not even trading anymore. So this is all business here for Strosky. This is also, by the way, a lethal attack.
So Ben is, as we say, forced play here, has to block.
I think his decisions, he's trying to decide if he wants to chump block with a Thermo Alchemist on the Geistfield Scarecrow, or if he wants to go for the double block. The double block does kill the Scarecrow, as it would be 5 damage hitting a 5/5, but it's very risky with all that mana opened up. So Ben is going to be thinking through his turn here and trying to decide if he's able to take on this level of risk. Remember, he's behind. He has to come up with something, and sometimes you just have to make a play that's risky, and Ben is one of the best in the game at this technical play aspect of deciding these risk levels. He knows what's in his hand. He knows what his opponent could have and what they do have on the battlefield, and so he's going to try to figure out what to do. It looks like he may actually be considering chump blocking with Olivia's Dragoon, assuming that the Thermal Alchemist can actually get in for more damage.
Any fear of unlocking your opponent's mana, like that he might have a 6
Totally. That's absolutely a consideration. Remember the Geistfield Scarecrow, making it cheaper or making the cards more expensive.
So Ben Stark discards a land there. He's trying to gets himself closer to.
He is 1 away from Delirium now.
Yeah. So there's an Ironclad Slayer.
And that's really interesting. So that makes his 2 Foul Bloods are almost ready to go, and Andre Strosky's at 10 here. Like, he's that close, is Ben Stark. The Sigardian Priest and the 1 mana left over for Strosky's pretty annoying from Ben's perspective, because he's just going to say, go to combat, so he can now know exactly what Strosky's plan is. And it makes sense. He's going to tap down the Foul Bloods. And that's a Graph Rat there for Ben Stark.
Yeah, I couldn't see
which
it.
Looks like it's not going to get the job done. Ben can take 3 in the air here, dropping him down to 1, and he's compelled to block, well, everything else, actually. Yeah, Strosky's still very much in the driver's seat here.
Is there a Midnight Scavenger in Ben's deck? It wouldn't even matter because of that.
I'm going to take a look for you, but yeah, I think he's going to have to lose the better part of his board here.
Yeah. Here comes the team, leaving back the priest.
There is. He does have a Midnight Scavengers in the deck. Interestingly, if it's in his hand, he may be trying to play for that, though we see the Graph Rats blocking means that's unlikely now.
Okay. Block, shoot. You go to 1. Drop Andre to 9.
So that's a trade and a chump block.
Yep. Is this
Wow.
Is this a Boon of Emrakul?
Yes, it is. But Strosky has, did you see his hand? He has Voldaren Pariah in
Oh
the
my
hand.
God.
Like, it's not going to matter here.
And he doesn't have to show it off.
But that's pretty impressive that Andre was able to dominate that game. He was ahead every step of the way. Ben was fighting for the advantages that he could try to find, but couldn't find enough to overwhelm Strosky there.
Yeah, it felt like it was tantalizingly close.
He was close. He was close. but Strosky gets to, we call that still had all these, right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't show him, but it's kind of like I was able to win and I still had these sweet spells in my hand. And he had a very good rare in his hand with that Voldaren Pariah.
Yeah. By the way, Andre Strosky, we talk a lot about the different things people are playing for and, sometimes heading into the Pro Tour or talking about the World Championship. But, Andre's got a little bit of time left for World Magic Cup. And he's at 1 point behind Lucas Blohan for the lead to be the captain of his national team. So big points on the line here for Andre Strosky. Meanwhile, looking in on, speaking of, players in the lead, Seth Manfield in the lead of everything, including this tournament. He's 6-0. Playing against Brock Parker, the Pro Tour champion. He's got a Vexing Scuttler in play. We don't know what he's got back. There's nothing in his graveyard. He returned it. Whatever.
Weird. I think there's some
his graveyard's
down
down there.
left there. Yeah. Because he doesn't have enough to have just cast.
Yeah,
the
he had to have
Scuttler,
sacrificed
so he
something.
sacked
But
some.
I wonder if he returned something sweet. Here's a Pyre Hound. There's Midnight Scavengers.
And I couldn't see what Seth bought back with it. What if it was rats?
Apparently, Neil Rigby had his opponent in Vexing Scuttler rise from the grave lock.
Oh yeah, that's kind of sweet.
His opponent kept killing it. He just kept getting rise from the grave back.
That's great. That's just insurance policy. Was that a confirmed suspicions in hand for Parker? May have that.
I can't quite see. So
Yeah, he might
he
be
knows
able
how to
to
play
find
his.
out.
He knows how to play his cards close to the vest.
Yes, he does.
All right. Oh, it may have been a Brazen Wolves that he returned.
Yeah, he does have a confirmed suspicions in his deck, so I'm pretty sure that's what's in his hand here. And he'll fire it off on almost anything. There we go.
Fires it off on the Ember Eye Wolf.
Yep. And he's going to generate 3 clues here. He's even going to be able to
Oh, and
sacrifice one right away. It feels great. This is a huge turning point for Brock. Like, he's a little behind on board, but
Vexing
the Scuttler's holding the fort.
Yeah.
That's right. He's not actually scheduled to take lethal here. He will go to 1, though. Yeah, all right. That's really bad for Brock. Having a third creature there is just brutal. I mean, did you see that? He cast 3 creatures that turn.
Yeah, that's insane. All right, we're going to go back. We'll give people an update on what's happening on this match. Looks like Seth Manfield's going to keep going, but in the meantime, Andre Strosky of the 2 Pro Tour top 8s versus Ben Stark of the Hall of Fame ring.
Yep.
With Ghoul Kohler's apprentice.
Hey,
There it is.
this is where, now Ben is in a situation where he went 2-drop, 3-drop, and if he's got a lot of removal spells,
All right, Boone
could
takes
really
out
run
the
him
Brazen
over.
Wolves.
yeah, that's a smart play from Andre. That's better than playing a creature there.
There's the Thermo Alchemist.
Turn 4 2-drop here for Ben Stark.
Yeah.
Not really what he wanted to do.
And there is the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Geist Shield Scarecrow.
It's-
4/4.
It's back.
Okay, Midnight Scavengers gets back the Brazen Wolves. We're seeing that play a lot.
That's great. I mean, that's so good for Ben Stark because Andre not only nullified a real threat, it's also a real threat that hits hard and can attack into the Geist Field Scarecrow. And Andre used one of his better removal spells with Boon of Emrakul on it,
Oh,
and
he's
Ben
got-
Stark just nullified
He's got
that.
another sweet one. He's got Faith Unbroken in hand.
Okay.
I don't
That
know.
is very all in, but probably worth it here. I mean,
I like that there's some degree of all in that is greater than just all in. There's very all in.
oh man, when you've got one creature and it's your good creature, it is definitely a real thing.
And also, I mean, you certainly don't want to let your opponent get another shot at a Midnight Scavenger re-entering the battlefield.
Indeed.
But it looks like he has some other options. I think I saw an Abundant Maw also in his hand.
Looks like an important turn here for Andre with 6 cards in hand.
He's got Faith Unbroken sort of shuffled towards the Sort of shuffled to the front. He's thinking about it. He's like, well,
Might be the play. I mean, it's tough because, you know,
Do I just
looking
push
at the
here?
Geistfield Scarecrow, remember it adds a mana to your
Yeah.
creature, so he can only cast a 3-drop with those lands.
yeah, 6 cards you mentioned, but none of them are a 5th land.
Looks like he's not going to go for it.
All right, gets in for 4.
Is that an Extricator of Sin?
Yeah, Extricator of Sin.
Wow. I haven't. That's the first time I've seen somebody even play that card.
So he
He
What's that?
sacrificed the
Yeah, sacrificed
Geistfield
the Geistfield
Scarecrow. Wow,
Scarecrow,
that's
yeah.
brutal. I mean, he downgraded it into a 3/2, but he upgraded in the sense that it doesn't cost him extra mana to cast creatures now. And he gets the Extricator as
and
well.
by the way,
which
it
is
also
what, an
it also
0/3?
put him 2 card types closer to Delirium
Yeah.
to transform the Extricator of Sin.
What does it become?
Well,
it goes from an
it becomes
0/3
the
to a
Extricator
3/5.
of Flesh. It's a 3/5. Eldrazi you control have Vigilance, and then it has 2 tap, sacrifice a non-Eldrazi creature, and put a 3/2 Eldrazi Horror into play.
Yeah.
Ben is not impressed and just attacks with everybody.
But Ben's got.
Uh-oh.
This is a sure sign
the
that Ben's got a
mid-combat
combat
Thermo
trick here.
Alchemist.
Looks like it's going to be Grotesque Mutation.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Also interesting to note that Ben's deciding to kill the Eldrazi token rather than the Extricator.
Which
And then
is
there's that
3.
Brazen Wolves that he got back last turn.
Yeah. It's a little life gain out of that.
I believe that was a Borrowed Malevolence off the top for Strosky. Though currently doesn't have any good targets, and with no board state outside of the 0/3 there, it's not going to do super great work for him.
Sorry, are you not a big Extricator of Sin fan?
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good. It's a steep price to pay. But, you know, if you get it transformed, it's excellent. So it is a game plan.
Fiendbinder.
Fiendbinder.
Yeah.
Not great here either. Ben Stark is the one who's ahead in this race. Fiendbinder really wants you to be the one who's ahead.
Yeah, and it gets booned
Yeah.
and binned. All at the
Booned
same
and
time.
binned. And there's 7 damage. Ouch.
And the ticking clock of the Thermo Alchemist that he still just kind of is going to have to deal with, in addition to dealing with the creatures on the board.
Now that's interesting. Nearheath Pilgrim.
That's-
That erases a lot of Thermo Alchemist triggers if it gets to attack. Now, if Ben can just kill it, then the game's over. Oh, that's not good news for Strosky.
That's a bit.
There
Oh
we
yeah.
go.
And
Reduces it to
perfect.
ashes, jams
Just
with
the
the team.
perfect card. Every time we've watched Ben play, he's just had, like these perfect cards for.
I mean, he needed anything there.
Yeah.
We just get it out of the way for a turn, and he can win the
dual
game.
shot would have been great.
Yeah.
The card you've really liked dual shot in general in this new format, right?
Yeah,
Gone up a lot for you.
I think it's actually approaching main deck ability, especially if you don't already have a similar effect in your deck.
So, we talked a little bit sort of broadly about Ben Stark, just talking about, Hall of Famer, but, how does he get there? What makes him, it's 4 Pro Tour top 8s, including being the champion of Pro Tour Paris, 18 Grand Prix top 8s with 1 win, and, of course, 3rd place at the World Championship, a couple years back, 2013.
No, he's one of the greats.
So looking back in, Seth Manfield did win that game we were watching. Brock Parker has an Oath of Liliana.
Yeah, and a Gavany
Gavany
Unhallowed. He
Unhallowed.
just blocked that Halpak Wolf.
Players in the Legacy Super Sunday
And Seth has now gone into the tank.
pairings are ready. Please report to the banner.
And he just
Borrowed Hostility.
Borrowed Hostility +3 to kill your guy.
That's all he needs. He doesn't
Yeah.
even need to do the first strike part of it. It's a nice play there from Manfield. If Brock had something like Just the Wind, he could still replay the Halpak Wolf. Or if he had gone for the full price, it wouldn't work that way.
Gets in for 3. Brock Parker, of course, a Pro Tour champion, playing alongside Matt Lindy and William Huey Jensen. Pro Tour Boston.
What was that,
teams.
1975?
2003.
2003, all right.
And
that was Team Limited.
It was
Was
Team
that
Limited.
like Rochester and all that?
Team Rochester.
Oh,
yeah. Hey,
The good stuff.
the Brockefellers was their team name.
That's a great name. By the way, speaking of great, if you're on
Oh,
Team
confirmed.
Brockefellers, confirmed suspicions just countered. Full 5-man against F arsonist there, and Brock once again
And we had the man
in
in the draw card that turn.
Yeah, so he's
It's working out a little better for him this game. Couple lands in hand. It looks like he's going to just use all of his questions this round.
He must have a 4-mana spell that he's happy playing.
I think he would be happy to play any 4-mana
Cancel
spell.
that order. I guess not.
Halpack Wolf in.
Halpack Wolf's doing good work for Manfield. Seth, of course, is currently ranked number 1 in the world. And he's our reigning world champion.
Oh, and by the way, trying to just steal the candy out of Tomohiro Saito and Brian Brunduin's mouth. Just
It's really savage. If Manfield takes down the GP Master slot, it actually doesn't drop down to the second place GP finisher.
No.
It ends up
it
going
opens
to
up an at-large berth, yeah.
And at large means person with most pro points in the world who does not currently have a seat already, which is so that means a worthy recipient
Right.
for sure. But
There's Exultant Cultist.
how does Brock have all these cards and nothing to do? All right,
There's
this is a little
Vexy
better.
Sky. Is he going to get back in from
Wow.
suspicions? That would be the greediest.
He's getting some value. Seth's going to take a look at the 4/5 here. He did.
Oh my god.
I mean, I guess he figures, look, you know
And draw
about
a
it, but what
card.
are you going to do? Not play spells? He has one open window here, Seth Manfield. If Brock has a remotely stabilized board and gets to fire off that confirmed suspicions again, it should be game.
A stabilized board
He'll
can
be up
sometimes
6 cards.
stabilized board can sometimes just be a vexing scuttler.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think his board's stable right now. I just mean, if Manfield untaps and slams some crazy 6-drop, that's one of the ways he can kind of get back here. But otherwise, Brock Parker really playing for the long game. And there's a murder to take down the 4/5 so
Oh,
once
wow.
again.
Christian. Meantime, though, we're going to go back and watch our match between Andre Strosky and Ben Stark. 2 turns underway here with a Sigardian Priest
Yep.
from Andre
No
Strosky.
play from Stark in the early stages.
And there's a
and,
forest.
and he's changed over to that other deck potentially. We'll
Oh,
find out in a few minutes.
interesting,
I don't know if he's
interesting.
splashing. He had a bunch of green cards sleeved up. We haven't seen him actually move into that deck yet on camera. We'll see if that's what's happened here or not. It looks like it is. There's Grapple with the Past.
End of the turn, cast Grapple of the Path. Has his option of,
He can get a
Return.
Mountain or a Byway Courier.
yeah, he's looking at his hand, decides, I have enough land. I'll get the Byway Courier. There you see Grapple of the Path.
This is
That
sweet.
by the way, that card's been sweet. I saw it as a
good.
mid-combat Delirium trick.
Oh, combat trick, huh?
Yeah.
I like that. Also, that artwork's a play on Make-A-Wish, right?
Yeah. It turned on a backward survivalist in the middle of combat.
That's legit.
So there's the Byway Courier.
Looks like Ben does still have a few black cards in the deck as well. Was that Thalia?
Yes, it is. We got a reader. Just double check, because I mean, it's a rare. You might not have played against it very much, and you want to double check what it does.
Yep.
Thalia,
It is funny how that
Heretic,
progression
Cathar.
goes, by the way, with Magic players.
Yeah.
Is when you're new, you read all the cards, and when
Yeah.
you're not new, you don't read them because you don't want to look
Yeah.
dumb. And then when you're really good, you read them again
Yeah.
because you know it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right. Hall of Famer Ben Stark, best limited player in the world. He's still reading the card. He's making sure.
Reader.
Yeah. It is actually fundamental.
Yeah, I think Grapple's strong.
In comes the Byway Courier.
Now that is a bold play. Remember, Thalia, she has first strike. So Ben is very much representing a combat trick of some sort
Okay.
here. And with 3 different colors of mana, there's quite a few that he could have.
I mean, what's Andre's best case for blocking here?
You know, trading with a combat trick. It's not great. I mean, his best case is that Ben is bluffing,
Right.
which is certainly possible. I mean,
And it may also be that Ben's not bluffing. And
Yeah,
Ben, or I'm saying that Ben just like block it. Please, I need a clue because I've got to dig for land.
could be. I mean, the truth of it is that it's unlikely that Ben Stark is just straight up
Yeah, no.
bluffing. It's more likely that he has a trick, which he does here, though that doesn't quite
He's
do it
giving
on
his
its
guy
own.
first. He's
He's
going to
give it first strike, and he's also
Yeah,
he's just
like,
going to trade. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I'm happy to have them trade here.
Yeah.
I get my clue.
It looks like a 2-for-1, but it's not. He does get the clue. And there's my buddy, the Ulvenwald captive. So nice sequence there from Ben Stark. That works.
Yeah, it gets tapped by.
It does. The new werewolves are actually not human. You can see it's a werewolf horror. And that means it can get tapped, though it won't really do much here. Is this the Scarecrow again? No.
No, near Heath Chaplain.
Even better.
And upkeep, tap your Ulvenwald captive because I don't want you to have mana.
So Ben's thinking about if he wants to tap it for mana
Or-
and then use another mana to crack his clue. They're also, it looks like they're clarifying exactly at what point in the turn they are, but like you said, it's upkeep. And it does look like Ben wants to not let that mana go fallow. It is really tempting to use it up, but if he had another play, he may do it anyway.
Taps another green.
I love this stage of a game, by the way. This is very much jockeying for position. Sure, Strosky has a nice one with the near Heath Chaplain, but Ben's at 19, and the Chaplain has 1 toughness. It's not like he's just going to straight lose to that card in the next couple of turns. So he's really got some flexibility on how he wants to craft his turn. Does he want to use up all of his mana?
I love watching Ben Stark's face as he goes through all the possibilities of what he wants to do, what his opponent might do.
You know, it's cool. Ben's started making draft videos recently, and you can hear him talk through that. And he does. He goes through all the possibilities.
He does. He'll do it in the feature match area. He'll
Well,
talk.
I can't hear him. But
He'll talk. I know. Well, we can't, but he will talk through stuff with his opponent. He's like, well, you could have this, but why would you do that if you had that? That wouldn't make any sense. So
I do that sometimes,
he
too.
did crack the clue.
He did, and he's got, it looks like a 4-mana play to make anyway. Oh, wow, it's Smoldering Werewolf.
Oh, that's one of your favorite cards
love
right now.
that card. This is a huge problem for Strosky. He's basically going to have to use the Sigardian Priest on it for the foreseeable future, because if Ben gets to untap, and he can just do it,
Yeah,
he
can
gets
just,
to
he can just
transform it,
transform the Smoldering Werewolf.
and then attack with it, and it'll do 2 damage to a creature or
Becomes
player,
the
and that will kill
erupting
the
Dreadwolf.
Sigardian Priest. So Strosky really can't let him attack with it. He can let him, like, if Ben wants to transform it, he will be able to, but that doesn't mean that it gets to attack, and that's when it triggers. So Strosky's really leaning on the Sigardian Priest hard now.
Certain death.
And certain death is going to be the play here. He even gets in for 1. He had to.
Yeah. Wow.
No choice there for Strosky. He just can't risk it.
I gotta tell you, certain death has looked. I know you're kind of middle of the pack on that card.
Yeah, I think
It's
you
just-
can run 1.
It just looked great every time someone's played
Yeah, I
it.
mean, most 6 drops do. How about the times when they don't play it? That's the harder
I've
one.
never seen that.
Yeah, that's right. Because they died with 5 lands. Yeah, no, it's solid. Like, you play certainly in Sealed, it's a card that you're going to play. And it's going to do what you need it to do. I see there's an Angelic Purge in hand for Strosky, by the way.
I like his deck.
His deck's good. His deck is good.
Here you see the other side of the Ulvenwald captive, the Abomination.
Yeah, which I think we're going to see shortly here as well. You can see Ben has just enough mana to do it. He will have to tap the captive to make that happen. But that's one of the strengths of the captive, is that even though it says it's 7 to transform it, yeah, it counts. It makes one of those mana itself, which makes it extra good.
Okay, so activate the Near Heath Chaplain, make a couple of spirit tokens.
Yep.
This is how Andre's going to try to win this game. Moorland Drifter. Yep. And flip the Abomination.
Yeah, that's nice. And he's going to say, you know, still in your upkeep here, I'm going to tap this thing down.
And I think also makes 2 colorless mana.
That's
so
right. That's right.
There are some terrible things that could happen.
Yeah,
to you
and he
here.
was going to tap it down anyway because he didn't want to take 4 damage, so he may as well do it on his upkeep. It's just smart sequencing from Strosky.
This is a silent announcement. Commander 24 and Commander 25. Commander 24 and Commander 25.
Ooh, Crop Sigil. So that's a card he sided in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the package of green cards that he brought in. It looks pretty bad here. I actually can't quite tell if Ben has Delirium or not. If he does, it'll be very strong. He'll be able to use it to get back his Smoldering Werewolf and kill both of the spirit tokens, which is very powerful here. If he does not have Delirium yet, it's a lot worse. He'll have to hope he hits Delirium very quickly. I'll try to get word from our feature match spotter if he's got
Right.
Delirium.
And meanwhile, Andre's like, well, I will attack you for 4. Oh, no.
Oh, a Voldaren Pariah. Hello.
Yes. Let's take a look at Voldaren
All right.
Pariah.
So there, you can take a look at that. And Ben, in the meantime,
Yeah, he does have Delirium.
did have Delirium, so he can use this to get back presumably the werewolf.
Tomorrow Super Sunday Seal and
But
Super
that's
Sunday
a
This is-
Abolisher. Oh,
Well, so it gets really awkward here because what happens is that Ben, if he plays the werewolf and says, okay, kill the 2 spirits, then Strosky says, with that on the stack, I'll transform my Voldaren Pariah,
yeah.
and you're going to lose both of your werewolves. And sure, I lose either the priest or the drifter, whichever one Andre chooses, but he gets a 6/5, probably a priest with it, against an empty board from Ben. So even though the Smoldering Werewolf is this great and strong
Yeah.
play against the board that Andre has, the Voldaren Pariah quite cleanly trumps it. So this is a really tough position for Ben Stark. Now he's got a full grip of cards here. He's got 4 or 5 cards in his hand, and he's going to have to come up with a line of play that doesn't just straight up lose to the Voldaren Pariah, and it is going to be very difficult to do.
I mean, basically, he needs to find a way to kill that Pariah before he can.
Hey, if
deploy
he has
his
a way to
werewolf.
kill the Pariah right now, then he's in decent shape. But if his play is just Smoldering Werewolf, which
Oh,
it looks
there you
like it
go.
is, then this is just not going to end well for him.
Okay. So that's what he does.
Yeah, I would assume that
Points to
with
both the
that
spirits.
or with that on the stack, that you would just sacrifice probably the Moorland Drifter and the 2 spirits to the
Yep.
Voldaren Pariah and transform her. Oh, but he has clear
Oh
shot in
my
response. Oh, Ben Stark, everybody. So the ability goes on the stack, and the Voldaren Pariah dies, but the problem is the cost was already paid. Those 3 creatures are gone.
And it doesn't transform, so you don't have the trigger upon transformation.
Oh.
An amazing sequence from Ben Stark.
You know, I said he had to look at his hand and find a sequence that could play around the Pariah, and boy, did he.
by the way, my early pick for most valuable card from Grand Prix Sydney has been Clear Shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The card's fantastic. Wow. Yes, and the Voldaren Pariah, by the way, for those asking, it does have to transform to get that trigger of
Oh,
having
yeah.
to sack. It's not something that you get just for paying the cost. It actually needs to transform. And there is an ability on the stack before it transforms, and Ben took full advantage of that. Wow.
Here's Odric Lunarch Marshall again. We
That's
saw
cute.
that in game 1.
That is not going to get the job done here, though.
There are not a lot of abilities for it to copy.
I bet we're going to see the Smoldering Werewolf transform here, and that's going to force the issue with the priest. It's going to basically force it to tap that card down, or else he's just going to lose the priest, and that's going to mean that Ben, if he wants, can start crunching in for 4 points of damage a turn. Now he's got to do the math because Andre's at 22 and Ben's at 12, and he doesn't necessarily want to trade 4 damage for 3 damage when Andre has almost double his life total from this position. Now, if he sits here and does nothing, then the priest can start sort of selectively tapping things down. So a lot to go through for Ben. And remember, that's not even considering the 3 cards in his hand. This has been a super, super sweet match. I love watching these two guys play.
So Ben says go.
The chat says, I think Ben has a clear shot of winning this game.
Yeah. Of course they do.
Of course they do. Though I will say, while I actually agree with that, it is close. This is by no means over,
So he taps the Smoldering Werewolf,
right?
and now this is your. He is going to attack with the Uvenwald Abomination.
Right, and this just signals that he's got a play he wants to make.
Yeah.
Because Andre's only going to fall to 18 here, but that means that Ben has a backup play.
Tapping 5 or more, right?
5 so far. It looks
Yeah.
like maybe it's reduced to ashes here. We saw that from him earlier.
This is a side event announcement. Seal rebound.
On the priest.
Yep.
Round 3 has started.
But wait, there's more.
Please step away if you
Wow, what a sequence for Ben Stark. Those last 2 turns were unbelievable. He's left Andre Strosky with a hill giant. That's what he's done.
And the Wildfield Scarecrow. And a land.
What a fun match to watch. Yeah, this has just been fantastic. I do believe Andre's down to 18, by the way.
Yeah. Angelic Purge sitting in hand there.
Yeah, I think he's got Angelic Purge and maybe
a
like a
Borrowed
Borrowed Malevolence.
Yeah, Borrowed Malevolence.
He's
yeah.
actually been holding Borrowed Malevolence for quite a while now. And it doesn't look great here. I think his best case scenario is if Ben were to attack into Odric, he could Borrowed Malevolence to trade with the transformed Smoldering Werewolf. And that is just not a great position to be in. So Ben is immediately going to block with his Wildfield Scarecrow. He does not care if the Wildfield Scarecrow trades for a combat trick or anything like that, because that's a quarter of Ben's life total, just that one attack. It looks like Andre did nothing.
Yeah.
And now he is going to go ahead and finish it off.
Yeah, Angelic Purge. And then
Wow,
Borrowed
this game has
Malevolence.
been so good. And that's a mockery of nature that Ben's just going to hardcast as
We
a
haven't
6/5.
seen that have a target yet.
No,
We've
no,
seen-
it hasn't, which is weird because there's a lot of them, but nope.
It just has the ability big right now.
God, can we just get these two guys in the feature match every round? This has been so great.
And Bash, says
10.
Ben Stark, yeah.
You fall down to 4.
Oh, and then
Wow.
a Handweir Garrison.
Well, that was a big draw for Andre Strosky, though. I don't think it's going to get him out of this, but he just found an abundant maw off the top.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
doesn't even
not
show
good
it to
enough.
him. Wow.
Yeah, because you'd have to sacrifice Odric, and then he just dies to the attack. Wow, what a match.
Ben Stark goes to 7-0.
What a match. I want to go back and watch that one. Let's
Yeah.
just not do round 8. Let's
Yeah.
just do that one again.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where you again we saw Ben reading cards. We talked about that. We talked about him, reading the Thalia. We also saw him read the Abolisher of Bloodlines. And just double checked
That it's when
that
it
how
transforms.
it worked.
You're right. Good eye.
He picked it up. He took it out of the sleeve. He read the other side, put it back down, and then said, "Okay, play my Smoldering Werewolf," and then had the clear shot. Beautiful sequence. Fun to watch on both sides of that match. All right, now Brock Parker did manage to pull that game out with his.
It looked like he was very much in
Yeah.
the lead, so I'm not surprised to see that. Looks like Boone of Emrakul just knocked out a Brazen Wolves there,
And there's Gavany Unhallowed, 2-4.
all by its lonesome.
And every time, just going to sacrifice, lose it to Oath of Liliana. Sacrifice it.
Wow, that's a big one for Brock. You often get nothing or something very bad with that, and he got full 4-mana
Card
creature
gets
with
a little
it.
worse a turn from now, right? Like if the if the vampire's in play next turn and the Gavany Unhallowed and he plays Oath of Liliana, you're like, okay, now I have a 3/5.
Yeah.
And not the worst case scenario.
Uh-oh, Brock misses land drop here.
Mrs. Landrop plays an ingenious Scob.
Really good 3-drop, but no land drop could get bad.
Yep.
And he's just immediately going to
Yeah.
trade off. Brock knows he needs to just buy as much time as possible here with 5 or 6 spells in his hand.
5th land for Seth Manfield.
Ghoulsteed? Where have you
Ghoulsteed.
been? I haven't seen you in a
Yeah.
while, Ghoulsteed. It's been in the stable.
Just munching on some rotting hay.
That's exactly what it does.
Okay. So, Nibblegast Herald taps the Ghoulsteed. And Seth's like, okay, here we go. What else do you got?
Midnight Scavengers.
Midnight
Good old
Scavengers.
Gravediggers is just doing great work. It always targets Brazen Wolves.
Yeah, I would just say always.
It's weird
targets
because you know in
Brazen Wolves.
R&D they're like, well, they're going to get these rats back.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, nah, dude. I'll
Nah,
take the
nah.
4/3 instead.
In fact, I wonder how often it's right to, with the rats in your graveyard, not get the rats.
More than you'd think.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get the rats, it rates very lowly on the sweetness index.
Oh yeah.
But
But on the
Sometimes correct.
pragmatic scale, it's
Sometimes-
often the correct thing.
sometimes deeply correct, yes.
In comes the Nibblegast Herald.
This is a silent announcement. Multi-challenge players from round 2 pairings are now being hosted.
Dual steeds.
Horse fight. Ghoulsteed has not seen this much action in a while, but here we go.
Ghoulsteed might be pretty sweet in Brock Parker's deck.
Yeah.
He's got all those confirmed suspicions,
Mhm.
clues that he gets to fuel his hand up with.
It's true. Just give him someplace to put all that extra card advantage. I don't know if a vanilla 4/4 is really the pinnacle, but hey, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, when you're just trading back and forth, like just the
Yeah.
ability to have it just keep coming back.
Jeez, murdered the horse. Pretty brutal for Manfield.
Wow.
Big attack too, 7 damage.
Yeah. Drops Brock to 13. And he has the follow-up play, the Brazen Wolves. Brock Parker's got a lot of cards. Looks like he's got a Vexing Scuttler, but nothing sweet to do with it.
Besides cast it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got, what, a Boon and a couple of creatures in the yard right
Yeah.
now? Yeah, Boon not being an instant or sorcery is surprisingly awkward.
You're just thinking of your Thermo Alchemists all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, why aren't these creatures instants or sorceries?
And my Vexing Scuttlers apparently as well.
I still have not played with that card yet.
Oh man, the chat is on fire today. They said talk about beating a dead horse. Literal. Actual zombie horse.
Only one of them gets to beat a dead horse.
Well, he did. He murdered it.
The other person's going to win with one. Look at this attack.
Wow, this is a brutal attack. 11 damage. Is that a Deep Fiend, an Elder Deep Fiend? Excuse me?
That sure looks like an Elder Deep Fiend. It is.
Yeah, so that's going to be the 5/6 with Flash. And he gets to tap down a bunch of permanents too. But I think he's just going to gobble up a horse or something here, right?
You get the horse or do you get the brazen wolves?
Well, he also could use that. He could have said, okay, but before you go to attacks, I want an
Right.
Elder Deep Fiend to tap down your team. He would not get to eat one in that
Yeah.
scenario, though. So it's a matter of balancing out how much life total Brock is willing to give up for
So
board
he's-
advantage.
Yeah, he's taking 7 or 8 here.
Yeah, and I think it looks like he has, in fact, let him attack, which is how it looked
Yeah.
when we saw it. And that makes sense. But, yeah, taking 8 damage here and going down to 5, even if you get to gobble up a Ghoul Steed, is a tough pill to swallow for sure. Looks like he's taking 7,
Is he holding
going to
Ruthless
6.
Disposal?
Is Brock?
Yeah.
I can't quite see. Deeply possible. He kind of keeps those cards in constant motion, though.
He does have one in his deck. So.
Yeah, then. I think he may also have a Grotesque Mutation. Which,
that could be pretty sweet.
yeah,
right here.
that's a great way to we were mentioning it. He was
Well, he's down
trading
to
life
6.
total for board presence, but that's a way you can gain back that life total so that you don't accidentally die. He's got 2 Grotesque Mutation in his pool, but none in his main deck. This is game 3, so he may have brought it in, though I can't actually. Again, he keeps the cards moving, so it's hard to see, but he's got that Vexing Scuttler for sure.
GP players, this is the end
Kibler-esque
round.
with his card shuffles.
Player finish your turn, and you have 5 extra turns. If you have additional
All right, it sounds like players are going to time. They probably have a little bit of extra time in the feature
Yeah,
match
I
area.
don't think they're
On the
quite at
floor. That is time in the round though.
Where are we at here? But is Seth thinking post-combat what he'd like to do? Okay, there
Yeah.
we go. There's a long pause there. With only
Yeah.
2 mana, it's hard to imagine that he
They
has
may
too
have
many
been talking
options.
to a judge, or they.
Yeah, it's hard to see sometimes.
So Pale Rider of Trocaire,
Of Trostad.
Trostad, Trocaire.
It's also a place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right.
But he has to sacrifice a creature.
Yeah, he is relatively creature light here in his deck in general, and then also, of course, on the board. Sacking the 5/6 is a tough pill to swallow, though. He could reduce Seth Manfield down to just a single creature if he wanted to.
So Ruthless Disposal says discard a card, sacrifice a creature, 2 target creatures, have to target 2, get -13 until the end of turn.
That's correct.
But you learned a cute little trick about the card.
Yeah, apparently you can target the creature you're going to sacrifice, which I did not know when I first read it. So that's a neat little trick. In this case, it won't apply for Brock because he's got plenty of
Yeah, plenty of targets.
targets. But that is something that's important if you do find yourself in a situation where you're going to sacrifice one of your creatures and you wanted to target just one of your opponent's creatures.
Yeah, at this point, Ruthless Disposal might just kill him.
Tough spot for Parker here.
He is dead on board.
Seth, interestingly, just going to attack with the Pale Rider. It has Skulk. It gets in for 3 there. Parker having done nothing for the turn. Is he getting burned here?
He's bringing. Oh, he's going to bring back his
Ghoul Steed.
his Ghoul Steed at the end of the turn.
But that's tapped. Oh, this is a really cool sequence to finish things off. Manfield not attacking with all 3 creatures there. Maybe considering a card like Grotesque Mutation. He may have seen it out of Parker if he did bring it in. Like, these are the sort of, lines of thinking that you go through in these scenarios. And Parker looks like he may be lining up an attack of some sort here. If he is, then that signals he's going to go ahead and fire off at least a foul.
The Ruthless Disposal.
A Ruthless Disposal, thank you.
I think
I am curious if that other card is a Grotesque
Grotesque Mutation, I
Mutation,
think it
because
is,
this
yeah.
would be a fine time to gain 8 life if you're Brock Parker.
It is Grotesque Mutation. Look at that.
Okay. So he had both of the cards.
Spins the card around.
And does
3.5
decide
times.
to attack. No blocks. Grotesque Mutation, if it resolves and if everything goes cleanly here, is going to put Brock to 11. And it
Can't-
did.
Yeah.
Wow. So Seth's going to drop to 8 and Brock's going to go to 11. What a huge swing.
So now it's
Ghoul Steed fight again.
the return of the Ghoul Steed. $14 damage there from Seth.
Parker, it looks like he was just a mana short of being able to do all the things he wanted to do. If he was going to go for the Ruthless Disposal in conjunction.
I think he had the other mana in his hand, but you still need to discard a card as part of the cast cost. And I think he only had 2 cards in hand
Okay.
after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because if he could set up a turn where he gets to attack for, call it 7 with the Ghoul Steed, putting himself back up to 10 and Seth down to 9, and then sacrifice the Ghoul Steed to take out the Pale Rider and, the Brazen Wolves or whatever.
Seth, once
That's some
again,
business.
only attacks with the Pale Rider.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Wow, this has been crazy. Seth just refusing to attack in.
You attack with both here?
It's lethal. Why did Seth not attack with everybody on that last sequence? If he blocks Ghoul Steed, he takes 10 and he dies. If he blocks the Midnight Scavengers,
Yeah,
He takes 11 and
That
he
is a
dies.
Ruthless Disposal, right? That last card. I'm pretty sure.
well, even if it's not, just from Seth's perspective, he could have attacked all in, but he didn't.
Yeah, almost certainly that's the last card in his hand, other than a land. Other than 2 lands.
Ah, okay, I see. So Brock Parker can trade Ghoul Steed. I'm going back to the previous turn, and it actually goes to 1. And then Manfield stands to take 5, not die on the crackback. So I don't think it would be crazy attack, but he wouldn't actually have had lethal in under any circumstance there if Brock blocks a 4-powered creature. So that's why we only see the Pale Rider come in. Wow, what a close game. My goodness sakes. And remember, this is a game where Parker gained 8 life while doing 8 damage to Seth in a huge swing. Wow, so close. Manfield,
Boom.
1 away. 1 point away from a lethal attack there.
Attacks with everything.
Now, this does force a block of some sort for Manfield. The most obvious would be the Ghoul Steeds blocking each other. But he's got other options.
The problem here is the Ruthless Disposal is going to probably obliterate both boards down to no creatures. And then we're going to get back to a Ghoul Steed fight as both players get back up to 2
Well,
cards.
and it might not. Like, if Seth triple blocks, he can triple block the Elder Deep Fiend, for example.
Oh, and then he's only going to lose one of the...
That's right.
Yeah.
He only loses 1 creature if that's the case. And then Brock can sacrifice the Ghoul Steed to his Ruthless Disposal and take out 2 more creatures, leaving Seth with just 1. Probably leaving him with the Midnight Scavengers.
Right.
But if that were the case, then Brock would have no board.
Yeah.
Versus a 3-powered creature. And Seth would probably be at 4 life after that happened. The other tricky part is Seth's only got 1 card in his hand, so he can't get Ghoul Steed back quite yet, so Brock knows that as well. But he could easily do that the next turn, and that might be the best play he has as well. So, wow, this has just been one of the closest games we've seen.
Seth is trying
Twice
to run.
now, Seth had nearly lethal on the battlefield. Could
Yeah.
force a trade, but couldn't quite get through. So this is just, I'm telling you, round 7 at GP Sydney is one to remember. These have been such sweet games.
Finally decides, okay. Puts the Brazen Wolf, the Pal Rider, I
Okay.
mean the Midnight Scavenger and the Ghoul Steed in front of the Deep Fiend. And he says, I will kill the Ghoul Steed. I'll lose this.
You go to 4.
Yeah. And now, Ruthless Disposal.
That's right.
Discard a land, sacrifice my Ghoul Steed. Those two, your Pale Rider and your Brazen Wolves, go away. So now I'm just on the Midnight Scavenger clock, but you just draw a second card, so you're going to be able to bring back your Ghoul Steed.
So it's actually a clock like that. And remember, the Ghoul Steed enters the battlefield tapped. So if Parker's plan was to bring back his
we're in
Ghoul
extra
Steed, it's not going to
turns.
work. And we are in extra turns. This is
Yeah.
the second turn of the game, or second turn of the match.
Wow.
Both players 6-0.
Would you say that Eldritch Moon Limited is a little bit grindier than Shadows over Innistrad Limited?
Yeah, it does feel a little bit grindier. It just feels a little more straightforward. Shadows had so many, I got my enchantment and I'm milling myself and making things, and it just had a lot of different angles of attack, where this one seems a lot more straightforward. I mean, players are basically trading resources off to their highest advantage and taking advantage of board states and situations, where the other one, it was more about kind of assembling the contraption, if you will. So now we've got Midnight Scavengers crunching in for 5.
All right, Brock falls to 5.
This is a big, Brock needs to find
Yeah.
something here. He found a land. I think he might be dead.
Right, because Seth's going to bring in the Ghoul Steed.
Yeah.
Here it comes. And that's the hand. Seth
Yeah.
Manfield goes to 7-0 on his last possible turn of the round. you see
It's
you see
tense.
just a wipe of the face from Seth Manfield. He's exhausted. You see Paulo Vitor Damarosa hanging around, watching the end of that match. He was pretty excited by it too.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Brock shake his head there too?
Yeah.
You games that close and that complicated, you always can go back and say, if I would have blah, blah, blah. Now Brock's not the type to think that he made the wrong play because it didn't work out, but it was so close. Like, there had to be 1 point of damage somewhere in there for him.
All right, well, you know what? There was some other magic in the feature match area. We're going to come back, take a look at that. Don't go anywhere.
Take on the darkness. Eldritch Moon pre-releases are happening right now on Magic Online. For more information, visit mtgo.com.